A racehorse comes off the track. Someone lifts his lip. Hidden inside his mouth is a fresh wound where the bit sat. Researchers checked 261 horses minutes after they raced. 84% had wounds like this. Yet almost none of those injuries could be seen from the outside. Does that make bits cruel? It's the loudest argument in the horse world, and we're answering it last. Today we're putting 10 of the biggest horse myths to the scientific test. Can horses smell fear? Are chestnut mares really crazy? Can they sense a pregnancy before you know? 10 myths, one at a time. At the end, all 10 get ranked by how much evidence actually stands behind them. And the final ranking won't be what either side expects. Myth 1. Your horse is a mirror of your emotions. Anxious rider, anxious horse. They say your horse reflects exactly how you feel. 20 people and 10 horses walked and rode the same short course 4 times over. Before the 4th run, researchers told the riders an umbrella would open beside them. The umbrella never opened. The people expected danger. The horses didn't know anything had changed, yet their heart rates rose too. In another test, 28 horses were shown large photographs of the same man's face, angry in half of them. At the angry faces, their heart rates rose nearly twice as fast. Then another study found almost the opposite. More nervous people didn't make horses more alert. Their heart rates actually dropped. The horses stood quieter and lowered their heads. But it was 10 horses, all big calm types used to having people around them. And the paper's own title begins, Preliminary Results Suggest. Verdict on the mirror, partly true and the missing half matters. He picks up that you are wound up. He does not pick up why. So when someone tells you he's spooked because of your unresolved grief, that is not in the data. Myth 2. Horses can smell fear. Don't let him know you're scared. He'll know before you reach the gate. Researchers collected sweat from people watching horror films and from others watching comedies. Then they let horses smell both, with no human anywhere in sight. The horses could tell the two apart. The bigger test used 43 mares and a cloth held at the nostrils. Under the fear sweat, they touched the handler 40% less often. They stared at strange objects 32% more. And when something startled them, they jumped harder and their heart rate peaked much higher. No body language, no voice, just a smell. Verdict, mostly true, and the evidence behind it is unusually strong. But that is where the myth goes too far. What people hear is that he knows you are afraid of him and decides to use it against you. The smell puts him on edge, so he jumps at more things. The stress hormone in his blood never moved. So on a day when you are genuinely frightened, expect a jumpier horse. Hiding your face and keeping your voice steady will not change what reaches him. Myth 3. Chestnut mares are crazy. Chestnut mare, beware, it even rhymes. Researchers read the actual coat color gene from blood samples in 215 Tennessee walking horses. If chestnuts really were different, this is where it would show. It didn't. A separate survey covered 477 horses across breeds and disciplines. Chestnuts differed on 4 questions, and every one of them pointed the wrong way. Chestnuts were more likely to walk up to a strange object, not away from it. Then the mare half. 1,200 owner reports on ridden behavior, and no difference between mares and geldings. The only differences they found had nothing to do with being crazy. Geldings were simply more likely to chew rugs and lead ropes when tied. Verdict, busted, and both halves of the phrase fail on their own. It feels true because a rhyme sticks, and a loud color is memorable. Every difficult chestnut mare confirms the rule, and every difficult bay gelding is just a difficult horse. The myth changes how people treat her before she has done anything at all. Myth 4. Riding bareback is easier on his back. No saddle, less weight. It has to be kinder. 7 horses were ridden at sitting trot over an electronic mat that reads pressure. The same rider rode each of them twice, once in a normal saddle and once with nothing. With the saddle on, the total force pressing down on the back was higher. So the first half of that belief holds. A saddle weighs something, and the horse carries it. But the mat also measured how that weight was spread out. Bareback, the average pressure was higher, and the single highest reading was higher too. Less total weight on him and still more pressure. A saddle spreads the load along a long, wide area down both sides of the spine. Sitting on him directly, much of it funnels through the 2 bones you sit on. The mat found hot spots right under those 2 bones, on the long muscles either side of the spine. With a saddle underneath, those hot spots did not appear at all. The people who ran it concluded that bareback may raise the risk of pressure injury in those muscles. Verdict: mostly wrong. Less weight does not automatically mean less pressure. One honest limit, though: 7 horses and a single rider doing all of the riding. It is the best measurement anyone has made of this, and it is still a small study. A short bareback walk on a sound horse is a different thing from schooling at trot without one. Myth 5. Horses heal human trauma. They get past defenses that a therapist cannot reach. Veterans, abuse survivors, children who won't speak. 13 studies were pooled together, covering 344 veterans with post-traumatic stress. Symptom scores fell by about 12 points on the standard checklist, roughly a 22% improvement. But improvement alone does not settle the argument. Did the horse do it? Only 2 of the 13 studies were properly randomized, and only 1 was rated low risk of bias. The author's own words are that the results must be interpreted with caution, and almost every study measured the people. Very few measured what the program meant for the horses. The real test is a head-to-head comparison, and those exist. A 6-week horse-based program for veterans was compared against a control group. There was no significant difference in symptoms, in resilience, or in the stress hormone in their saliva. In young people at risk, horse-based therapy and ordinary talking therapy produced similar improvement. Verdict: partly true, the improvement is real. The proof that horses beat ordinary therapy is not. Something in those 6 weeks helped. The horse has never been shown to be the part that did it, and this one is worth carrying past horses. Getting better after a treatment is not proof that the treatment did it. Myth 6. Horses always choose the best leader. People say every herd has a lead mare. She earned it by being the wisest. Researchers watched herd after herd deciding when to move. They were looking for the one horse the others followed. The busiest individual started fewer than 4 out of 10 movements. No horse qualified as a leader under any definition they tested. Listen to what that myth quietly claims, though. The word best. It says the herd looked at the candidates and selected the strongest one. Nothing evaluates anyone. There is no post to be elected to. Verdict: busted because there is no office and no election. Influence is real. Turning it into a job is the mistake. What does survive is narrower. Calm, familiar, experienced horses get followed more often. Copying a neighbor who already knows where the water is costs you nothing. Myth 7. Horses know when you're pregnant. My mare knew weeks before the test did. She went protective, gentle, strange around me. There is no study, none in either direction. Nobody has run the experiment on horses detecting a human pregnancy, so there is no result to report. That is not the same as false. It means unknown. And no, we are not going to borrow the dog research to fill the hole. People are probably noticing something real, but it starts with the human. Early pregnancy changes your posture, how you walk, how long you groom. It changes whether you get on and whether you hesitate at the mounting block. Horses read exactly that kind of change, and the evidence for that is strong. The mare is reading the handler, not the pregnancy. These stories are only ever told after a positive test. Nobody remembers the weeks she behaved normally. Verdict: no evidence. The question has never been asked. Myth 8. A horse never forgets. One bad trailer trip, one rough vet visit, and he'll remember it for the rest of his life. Horses were once trained to sort pictures into categories, then left alone for years. One of them came back after 10 years and reapplied the rule immediately. Then it applied that rule to pictures it had never seen before. It had kept the rule, not the picture. That is the part that matters. A second study taught 20 yearlings to stand still for handling, some of them with food rewards. 6 months later, with no practice in between, the rewarded ones still remembered. At 8 months, a stranger arrived to worm them. New person, new procedure. The rewarded horses cooperated with someone they had never met. The others took about twice as long, backing away, raising their heads, pushing against the handler. Verdict: mostly true with one honest caveat. The famous 10-year result rests on 3 horses, and only one of them was tested after the full decade. A horse does not always remember the day. He remembers what he learned from it. And here's the inversion worth keeping. Good handling is remembered exactly as long as bad handling. Myth 9. Carrots are a healthy treat. It's a vegetable, so a pocketful has to be better than shop-bought sweets. The sugar panic around carrots is mostly misplaced. A carrot is about 88% water. Dry all that water out on paper and the sugar figure looks alarming. That is where Sugar Bomb came from. Whole and fresh, a carrot holds roughly 3 to 5 grams of sugar. Against everything a horse already takes in from a day of hay, 2 carrots barely register. Some horses cannot handle sugar properly, and for them it can end in laminitis, the painful hoof condition. Soaked hay cubes are the safer choice, and that one is a conversation with your vet. The risk almost nobody mentions is choke, and whole apples and carrots are on the veterinary list of causes. Food lodges in the tube running down to the stomach, and it is a genuine emergency. A round slice is the classic choke shape. Feed from a bucket if your horse mugs you. Verdict: partly true, and the argument is aimed at the wrong thing. Sugar is the part everyone argues about. Shape is the part that sends horses to the vet. Keep feeding carrots. Cut them the long way, never into rounds. Myth 10. Bits are cruel and bitless is kinder. A metal bar in the mouth is cruel by design. Back to those 261 trotters, checked minutes after racing. 84% had fresh wounds in the bit area. 1 in 5 of those was severe. 2% showed blood from the outside. So far, this reads as an open and shut case against bits. Here is where it turns. The biggest field study looked at 3,143 horse and rider combinations. Marks or blood at the lip corners in 9%, rising steadily with the level of competition. There was no difference between bit types, and no difference between bitted and bitless bridles. The competition rules did not allow anyone to open a horse's mouth. Only the outside of the lip corners could be checked. The 84% figure came from inside the mouth. This one did not. So the honest sentence is this: in what you can see from the outside, no difference was measurable. That is not the same as saying bitless is just as bad. Nobody has looked inside the mouths of bitless horses and compared them. The same study also put numbers on the noseband. Horses in the looser noseband group had less damage at the lip corners, and horses wearing no noseband at all had that damage 2.5 times as often. So loose but present beats absent. Same rule as always, now with numbers behind it. Then there is the rider. The same bit, in quiet, educated hands and in heavy, inconsistent ones, produces 2 very different mouths. Verdict: partly true, and that is not a softening. The variable was never the tool, it was the hand. Going bitless moves the pressure to the nose and the pole rather than removing it. And think back to those 261 mouths from the start. 84% were injured and only 2% showed anything at all. Whatever is on his head, you will not see it from the outside. You have to open the mouth and look. That is all 10. Each one carries 2 separate things. What the answer turned out to be and how much evidence is holding it up. We start where the evidence is thinnest. Horses know when you're pregnant. The question has never been asked. Carrots are a healthy treat. Composition data and no trial on treats at all. Bareback is easier on his back. 1 measurement, 7 horses, 1 rider. Horses mirror your emotions. Good studies that contradict each other. Horses heal trauma. 13 studies and only 1 of them built well enough to trust. Horses never forget. 1 clean 20-horse experiment and a decade result resting on 3. Horses choose the best leader. Herd after herd filmed and no leader ever turned up. Horses smell fear. 3 separate experiments all pointing the same way. Chestnut mares are crazy. The actual coat color gene was read in 215 horses. And at the top, bits are cruel. Thousands of horses examined across 3 countries. Now compare people's confidence with the evidence behind it. The claim horse people half say as a joke he can smell fear is well supported. The one stated most flatly, Chestnut mare beware, has nothing supporting it at all. Almost every one of these started as something true and got stretched 1 step too far. Horses pick up your alertness, and that became a mirror. Horses remember for years, and that became never forgets. Bits injure mouths, and that became bitless is kind. Horse therapy helps people, and that became better than a therapist. The question was never really which of these myths are true. It is how far the truth reaches before somebody stretches it 1 step further. If you'd rather know how sure we actually are, you're in the right place.